Hello, fellow gamers. I'm Gloryhound, and this is the lovely Dr. Gloryhogg here with me today, and it's Kickstarter Day.
It is.
Kickstarter Day, everyone!
There's a lot of Kickstarters, too.
And I am so happy to see everybody in chat today. It looks like we have Alan in chat. Hello. Where the heck have you been, Alan?
Jolly and Petter.
That's
and
right.
There was more, too. I saw more.
There were more, too? Well,
yeah, there was definitely more.
I know. I totally
Fatal
started
paper cut.
super late, everyone. So apologies on that.
It's still noon, like right now.
Well,
super 5 seconds late.
I forgot to put the restream chat up, so I didn't know who was chatting.
Yeah, work is a thing, Alan. I try to stay away from as much as possible, but every once in a while it catches up to you.
Hello, Fatal. So today we have 4 Kickstarters that we're going to be going through. It is Voidfall, Artisans
of the Splendid Vale,
and the Stuff of Legends. I'm super excited to talk about it. And Beast, yeah.
That's all 4. The stuff, that's everything. All right, thanks for coming to our show.
There should be something for everybody on this list, though, because we have like heavy games.
Hidden movement, 1 versus many. You've got like a storytelling game. You've got a Euro 4X game, and then a cooperative
a co-op game, like, and everything. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notified whenever we go live so we can chat with all of you out there on our Kickstarter Day.
Or this burrito gets it.
No, don't ruin the burrito. Fatal's not here. You have not seen Fatal. All right, everyone.
Hello, battle cry.
There we go. All right, let's see here. First up, we have Voidfall. Voidfall is...
big old Mindclash game.
That's right, Mindclash game is for 1 to 4 players. It's going to take about 50 minutes per player, and from what we've seen...
That's accurate.
Super accurate.
Well, or more so. Looking at some of the playthroughs of this game, they were 4 hours and 5 hours. Now, some of them did have some teaching in there, but they were 4 or 5 hours for a couple of people.
It's a lot.
That is a lot of time.
It's good and it's bad, everyone, okay? Really good and really bad. It matters what type of gamer you are.
So here's the weird thing about time with games, right? Once you've already started playing it, like, I couldn't tell you if Ankh took 2 hours or 3 hours. Like, I couldn't tell you for sure.
No, because you're, like, into it, and
right,
it doesn't seem that long. Right, because
I don't care. I'm into it, right? Or if you played The Crew, for example, for 3 hours, which we did that before recently.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sit down and go, like, oh, it's a 3-hour game. I could play so many more games in that amount of time, or different games. So it's kind of weird. But knowing up front that's about 50 minutes, about an hour per person, that's if they kind of know what they're doing. That is kind of a hefty... I mean, would you want to play this at 4 players?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be this is going to be a day game for everybody, especially if you're teaching it and everything. The game looks incredibly freaking cool, though. There are so many reasons why I like this game. This game, it's like what I would consider like a really true to heart war game, because you're trying to take care of your supplies or your supply lines in a way because of the different tiles that you have with your supplies coming in. You're trying to manage your own board and... your
engine, essentially.
Right, your own engine.
Like how you're making resources.
Right. You have cards that you're putting down, and there are cards where you're choosing your action, but on the action card, there's several choices that you can make.
I believe there's 3, and you got to pick 2 of them.
The gameplay in this is incredibly deep. Like, there's tons and tons of depth. Like, you can be like, oh, we're just going to play a card every turn, but playing that one card every turn is huge. And then... not only do you have the other players that you have to worry about on the board, you also have to worry about this void thing that's happening on the board.
What's up,
that
Kabuki?
can potentially take things away from you where you can't use your action slots and make you do certain things on your cards.
Well, then it has corruption, too, which is if you go into the void areas, there's a chance they can come back and take stuff from you, or you can get stuff from the void, right, by like using their technology and stuff, and that can kind of corrupt your own people going forward. So it's got kind of one of those mechanics, too, the risk versus reward of get more stuff, but have a chance to lose more stuff.
Fatal says, the Rook expansion came in a week or 2 ago. Most recent thing I've got. Ooh, have you played it yet, Fatal?
So this is one that, it looks beautiful.
Oh, it's so pretty.
It's a big 4X game. A lot of people are trying to compare it to, say, something like Eclipse, Second Dawn, right? The second edition of Eclipse. I feel like it is actually probably closer to something more like maybe like an On Mars, like a heavy Lacerda game, like a heavy Euro game, than just a 4X game. Because you're doing 4X things, but there's no card play for battles. There's no dice play for battles. It's kind of like, I've got 5 troops here and you've got 4, I win. It's deterministic. Which...
That's why I'm really comparing it more to like a war game sort of style. In this game here, you're not going to be, since there isn't that sort of like, what is it, like a risk in it, you know? So you're going to be properly building up your troops behind your lines. You're going to be very, very strategic about everything. Like, you're going to make decisions that are in finality of, like, I'm going to win this battle and stuff whenever you're playing it. So it's tracked much, much, well, you're going to look for that over longer time play, you know? Which isn't for everybody, though, because, like, here's the big thing, is this game, for me, I'm super excited about, because all of my planning, all my scheming is going to come to a head, and it's going to be perfect once it's all played out, and I'm going to be really, really excited about it. And then Doctor, like, well, so you don't have an advantage with just being, like, doing some willy-nilly crazy stuff on the board, and I'm like, what's happening? You know what I'm saying?
It's not just willy-nilly. It's called taking risks. A lot of the really cool stand-up moments when you're playing a longer game like this is when you take one ship and you battle off 3 ships, or when you take over a territory that should have been really hard for you to take over. So you want to have a really good idea that you're probably going to win, but you kind of want some kind of tension that you could still possibly lose because of some unforeseen event. I mean, unfortunately, real life's not like that. You can't roll and be like, well, we've got 2 tanks and you've got 1, we win, and then the other person just leaves. Like, that's just not reality. Like, all kinds of little things can happen that can change things one way or the other. So for me, I kind of miss there being some type of slight dice rolling or some kind of like strategic card. I think I like strategic card play more than dice rolling, but where you can use like a strategic card to try to win out. But you can't really do that with this game. It's just whoever's got the most wins.
So Jacob here says, this one got me. Love Mindclash, Tricterion, and Cerebra are amazing. I think it may be a 4X game I enjoy from the gameplay videos. I completely agree. This game is specifically for a certain type of person. I think if you are an Ameritrash player, though, this is going to look enticing, but I don't know if you're going to like it.
Yeah, I feel like there might be a little bit too much micromanagement, not enough of the fun kind of like going out and trying to like take over stuff.
But if you're like a heavy war gamer, or you like highly strategic games that have longer and intense gameplay where you're going to see lots of reward at the end, but maybe during the building portion of the game, it's going to be very little reward. Like that's more comparable, I feel like, to this game. And so if you like those sort of things, like carrying out your plans very late in the game and stuff like that, then this is going to be more of a game for you, as opposed to an Ameritrash game where you're trying to play a little bit faster, but also like a little bit dirtier in like, okay, maybe dice are helping supplements for things, or maybe cards are, you know what I'm saying?
Faster but dirtier.
Faster but dirtier.
Interesting perspective on that.
Come on, everyone. Ameritrash has dirty gameplay.
I think you have to know what you're getting into with it. Like, I think Mindclash does games kind of like Lacerda does games, where you just have to know when you're going into it. That's the style of game that you like. I've only played like one Lacerda game, and I haven't played any Mindclash games. I've always been very tempted. They always lure me, and I'm always like about to hit pledge. But ultimately, when I start seeing things of complexity of like 4.35 on BGG or higher, I'm like, am I going to want to sit down and teach this to somebody? Because if I teach it to somebody, like, I need like a blood oath that they're going to play it with me in the future. Because I'm not trying to teach this to 4 or 5 different groups, right?
And then you're like, and every 3 months we shall play this game.
I have not played Imperium Classics or Legends. I've heard good things, though, of that. So that's my biggest problem, because there's games, like, I mean, I've had times where, like, Scythe has fizzled because people are like, oh, this is too confusing. And I'm like, that one's not even, like, in the same ballpark of something like this. So I feel like if I taught this to somebody and they didn't want to play it again, I'd be mad. Where, like, I can teach dwellings to somebody in about, like, definitely, like, in just, not too long, 15 to 30-ish minutes at the most. You can teach it to somebody. There's a lot of games you can teach to somebody and play, and then if they never want to play it again, it's not a big deal. This one, if I spend an hour and a half to teach you how to play this and then you don't want to play it, whoo, I'd be mad.
So Alan says, micromanaging, that's my cup of tea, right, Alan? So Andrew says, I love the deluxe pledge design. I really want to back this, but the 1 hour gameplay per person is too much for my attention span. Yeah, the components in this are stinking amazing. Like all these ships and everything, and then they're going to be on the little clear bases and everything, so it looks like they're floating. Like, it's going to look amazing.
Yeah, if you're going to get a pledge of this one, you definitely want to go for the deluxe and get the cool ships and everything.
Petter
for sure.
says, this is a 4X game. There's always an X or two that they focus on. This one is more or like Eclipse in my mind. And then Luke says, sucker for 4X space games and Mindclash, so I'm definitely going to get this one at some point. Okay. I kind of wish the minis were an add-on. I like a lot of the deluxe components, but I don't need the minis. That's fair as well.
Needs a bigger box.
Absolutely. Kabuki says, I actually need to run away, but Voidfall would be my burrito money. I figured it would, Kabuki. I figured it would. Now, on this one here, it's really important also to note that they are not going to have a traditional retail rollout of this game, everyone.
Are they going to isn't there a retail level?
There is, but it's not a traditional retail rollout, which means it's probably not going to the distribution companies and stuff like that.
So you might have to get it like directly from the company or something?
Exactly. So this is going to be a direct from the company sort of thing. They'll probably have more on their website, but I mean, if it's one of those things, if it blows up, then you're not going to be able to find it. If it doesn't, then you're probably going to be able to find it via the retailer's website, but at what price? You know, at what price is it going to be like that?
And I feel like that's fair because you don't see a lot, like kind of like what Alan's saying, you don't see a lot of Mindclash stuff just kind of hanging out. Because really, what game store is going to want you to kind of come in and be like, oh, this looks cool, and then drop $150 and get this game that's rated at like a 4 point something for complexity? Most people are going to be like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing with this, and like want to bring it back.
That happens to like the Twilight Imperiums and stuff like that. Like you'll see them at a game store where they'll have like one copy for like 8 months or something like that. And then you go there one day and then it's gone. But like they still have that one copy that they've had there for 8 months. Yeah. It's still 8 months worth of time.
They're not
shelf.
selling them like a King of Tokyo, for example. So I feel like this isn't a game that you just go to the game store and buy like on a whim. Right? A lot of games you get at the game store are ones you kind of buy on the whim. So I think they kind of lean towards that medium, the light. I don't think this is a whim game. You don't just look at this and go. Now, to be fair, if I was just looking at it, I would definitely want to back it. But the more I read about it, I don't like Euros as much, and I don't know if I'm the type of person that likes determined combat where I just know I've got 5, he's got 3, I'm going to win this battle.
So Fatal says faster but dirtier was what Doc called his second jump off the bike ram. That's 100% true, Fatal. Okay. And let's see here, Alan says they are a premium product, so you're talking about Mindclash. Yeah, absolutely. It is a premium product on that.
So where do you fall on this game ultimately?
Well, one thing I do want to mention, too, is that this is going to be done in February of 2023.
Okay, well, that's at least they're being realistic.
Right, yeah. So, like, this is not coming out next year. This is the year after that. You're going to be waiting for this a while. I would love to back this game. I'm super excited about it. I love space-themed games. It has all of the build-up that I want in a game. But here's the big but on this. Is I suffer from some AP, not like as bad as some people, but making choices, multiple choices on each card that I'm playing.
4 to 7 cards, making 2 to 3 choices, 2 out of 3 choices on each card.
I'm going to be taking a while to make some choices. They're going to be very critical, very perfect choices.
I'll be like on my computer. I'll be like on my computer, like playing like a whole match of Magic online or something. I'll be like, oh, it's your turn over? Okay, yeah, I'm going to do this and this.
And although I love the momentum of like a slower build where I'm building back all my troops and everything, I'm making my plans, everything's very strategic, I see what's coming on the board, that is not an exciting gameplay for you. So I don't know who I would play this with, everyone.
Well, here's my problem. Like some of the people
AP.
So like Greg, he likes Euros, but he doesn't typically like longer games.
Right.
Game Boy Geek doesn't typically like longer games. Alex likes longer games, but he has worse AP than you do.
Right.
John likes longer games, but he has the worst AP out of you and Alex combined.
Is it?
Who would I play this with?
So sad that like everybody who likes longer games also has like AP and then in our group, and then like we're like, all right, we're gonna play this game for the next 10 hours.
Right, and if you want to sit down and strap down to like play this for like 10 hours straight, that's fine.
I'm okay with that.
I just don't think that's for me. Like. There's lots of games I enjoy. I mean, we've played lots of games for hours and hours and hours. I've even played like a whole, like we played through Legacy games in just 2 sittings, right? Yeah. Like a Saturday, Sunday type of deal. So it's not that it's not the amount of time. I think maybe it's the, gosh, I don't want to get in a game where I make one mistake and then I feel like I'm just suffering the whole rest of the game for it.
Right. So Fatal, oh, was it? That was not Fatal. Who was it that's saying that?
Laddie says, choosing among 27 actions could be long. Yeah. Yes.
Andrew says, I agree with Doctor. I wish combat would be your ships plus some cards. And for the strategic game player in me, I can understand why cards are involved in things, but I don't always like using cards because I like having the absolute of knowing that when I throw my people into battle, like they're going to do what they need to do and there's going to be a resolution in my favor. And I can understand wanting to have those in there, but it's not as satisfying for me. I know it's satisfying for you to get that dupe over somebody and be like, haha, you thought you were going to win.
Well, it adds a different level of complexity which is realistic, you know? Somebody comes in with their archers, but then you've set up the field to where, like, they're inefficient, right? Or, I don't know, it always makes me think of, like, medieval combat, right? So they've got their archers, but they don't know that your cavalry is coming in from the side to do, like, a sweep.
Right.
So there always has to be, I like games that have that kind of rock, paper, scissors aspect where it's like, well, if they do this, this will trump them. But if they do this, it'll trump my card that I thought would win. And some kind of level of that, right? Like 4 or 5 cards that all kind of play off each other, which Anka's really good about that, where depending on what card is played, can make things go really well or really bad. Even when you try to lose sometimes, you can accidentally win or tie because you assumed your opponent was going to play one thing, they played something else, and then you're like, this didn't work out in my favor like I thought it was going to.
Absolutely.
I kind of enjoy that. So I know I'm probably going against the grain here. It looks really pretty and really amazing. I just don't know if this type of game is for me. I think it's just too much to where I would just get bored waiting for turns. And that can be a real killer for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that like loves just light games, right? Like I can play Tainted Grail, all these other games that take hours to play. But if I'm just sitting for most of that time waiting for you to take your turn, no thanks.
If you all are interested in playthroughs and all that other stuff and everything, there's plenty of really good resources on this campaign. Just be prepared to spend 4 to 5 hours watching these videos, everyone, because they are long. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game, okay? You have asymmetrical gameplay with a bunch of variability with the different cards and choices, and then building stuff, and then the void coming out on the board, and then other players, interacting on the board and stuff, and like it's a lot of stuff, but totally up my alley. Like I said,
who would you play
I don't know
with,
who I would play this with. I don't know.
Because the only people that would play it with you guys would be just playing it all day.
Nobody in my social circle that would want to play this with me at this point.
No, I would definitely play it, but it might be like a one and done for me where I'm just like, okay, we played it, but this took way too long for what I got out of it.
I love the game, though, and it looks amazing. Like, Mindclash Games did such an amazing job with this.
They always do, and I'm going to get to one of them eventually. And Petter kind of, I think, agrees with me with it's a lifestyle style of game, right? Like, most of the depth you're going to get out of is by playing with the same people multiple times, trying different strategies.
Absolutely.
Which, with longer games, that's a lot harder to do. You have to have that type of group around you, and I don't think we have that type of group around us that would really get the value out of this. If I'm going to spend $150 on it, I'm going to want to play it more than once. So
in the comments, make sure and let me know if you're going to back this game or not, because I need to know whose house to go to play with.
One good thing it does have is it does have solo for people that play solo, but also has a co-op. So you can play this against the void itself.
Against the void?
Yes.
Ooh, I love that.
So you're more likely to get me involved in that, because then at least I feel like I care about what you're doing on your turn more.
Also, if you all are interested in trying before you buy, it is on TTS. So
yeah, it is on one of the digital
platforms. If you feel like doing some digital stuff with it and everything, it is available, which is really, really nice. If you want to get digital.
You want to get digi with it, you can play it online.
I don't think you can say that.
You can get digi with it.
You can get digi with it. Doctor, would you back this game?
No, I want to, but I just think realistically it's going to end up on my shelf, like a certain other game I won't name that's been there for like 4 years now.
I would love to back this game, but
on Mars.
I have nobody to play with. I know, because it's so hard to get it out, because it's an event. It's an event, everyone, okay? Petter says, I won't be getting it, but the Not a Compound always has room for long games. That's right. And when the Not a Compound comes around, I'm down with that, okay?
We need to start that compound that's not a compound.
The Not a Compound
This would be a good game to take on one of those board game retreats where you go to a cabin or something. But
that'd be amazing.
Everyone's got to have the buy-in, right? And it'd be better if everybody kind of had a general idea of how it worked, because otherwise, I would hate to learn an hour into this game that I was doing something wrong and then just be like,
I need to... like, no! You dropped your knees, no!
I would just I'd commit some type of ritual suicide, because I've shamed myself.
Wow, Doctor, jeez.
It would be really bad.
All right, moving on.
3 more hours and you were doing it wrong. No.
Moving on, we have Artisans of Splendent Vale. This is by Renegade Games. This is for 2 to 4 players. This should be, it doesn't have minutes on it or anything like that.
I mean, you can play it as long as you want.
Yeah, our game was about an hour and a half on this one here.
Which we could have technically stopped before, but we kind of stopped at the end of the day, which seemed like a natural place to stop.
They do have natural stops, but yeah, you could actually stop after a fight. Like, you can really stop anyone in this game.
Right, because we did that with the
box
kid.
up your cards, and then, like, you're like, ta-da, we'll come back later and play this game.
There's lots of checkpoints where you're writing down what you did. Oh, we got to the library. Oh, we fought some bandits. The bandits ran away.
If you're interested in seeing, like, an in-depth playthrough on this game, we actually did a playthrough on this game on our channel, and it shows you inside the book, it shows you combat, it shows you, like, a full day's worth of storyline and everything, so you can really see some of the cards that you end up coming out, a couple of the surprises and stuff like that, but nothing that's going to spoil the game because it's only, like, the first little session of the game in this. But it gives you, like, a little bit of everything.
So this is a super in-depth adventure game, which I believe the designer, Nikki, also did work with Legacy of Dragonholt.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Nikki Valen, she actually did Mansions of Madness, Quirky Circuits. She worked on Eldritch Horror, Adventure Tactics, like... They really have a very well-versed background in games, yes.
Because this is like living through an RPG. It is mostly storytelling. This reminded me of something like Adventure Tactics, where you're like, okay, some light combat, some light tactical combat. It's not like overly complicated because you can only do X amount of things. It's not super ridiculous, like line of sight and all that. It's not nearly as important.
Yeah, line of sight is important. Well, it gets more tactical.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like playing Warhammer.
Right. It gets more tactical, though, as it goes on, because then you get climbing stuff and stuff like that. But it graduates slowly. So
I feel like it's that, plus those Van Ryder games, the adventure games, that you actually just have a book and you go through. It's like, turn to page 32, and you look at the map, you try to find hidden numbers to go to that. So, or like, what's the other one? Seventh Continent is similar to this, except you're not playing out of a book, you're playing off the tiles itself. So, and this one came with like a map and a journal and a lot of really cool stuff. I think this is a really good game for people that like storytelling style games, but it's lighter. When I say lighter, I mean it's lighter as in it didn't seem overly combat focused. It didn't seem like you're trying to min-max your character. There was a lot of background. Like, I knew my characters, like, astrological sign, their blood type, what types of food they liked, who their partner was, favorite animals. Like, you find out a lot about your character. So it's definitely, I think, leans more towards the RPG, not like a D&D combat session, more just like, here's the background of your story. And because you even have whole sections of like how my character sees your character, and then you have of all the other characters. So it's like there's a lot to explore character-wise. So if you wanted like a very character-driven story, this would be a good one for that.
Thank you so much for that, Rachel. So yes, Nikki is a they or them, right?
Okay,
absolutely.
So I think this is I just think this is a very good storytelling game where you just kind of peel it back layer by layer and find different things. And the more people you play with, the more interesting it gets because you get to see more things. Because you have different scripts, you have different numbers you can see when we're looking at the map. So there's a lot of that too. So it's a great open world game, I guess.
Here's the thing with this game, and I cannot explain to you all how much I love this game because, one, I love all of the ethnicities that they brought into this and everything, so you're not getting like the same old story of what's happening here. There's like...
It's not just like an elf, a dwarf.
Right, exactly. Like, they're all artisans. They all have their special abilities that they're going for.
I had like a super powered like mechanical arm that I was
Some people are
building.
Collecting herbs and stuff. Some people are collecting...
Taylor.
Yeah, stuff on their little project boards and everything.
Metals and materials.
So, like, the way that you even...
Potions.
Like, there was so much thought that went into this game that each character has a different way that they completely level up and get to their end portion. That each character has their own side quest going on.
Forgotten Waters had like a kind of a really cool level up system where you had to kind of go down like a maze almost to level up. Right. This has a similar thing, but they're very different. Like mine was very different than yours.
Insanely different, yeah, completely different. You're looking for different stuff throughout the game. I love the fact that they have these adventure books in this, that you have that Robinson Crusoe feel to it. Like, I don't know if all of you played the Robinson Crusoe.
Graphic novel adventure.
The graphic novel adventure books, where you are all so invested in what's happening in this game all the time. And the fact that I can read...
Because nobody can just not look. Because, like, you might have a spot whenever you're talking that I need to chime in at. So I have to follow along, too.
Right. So, like, I hate it. I absolutely hate it whenever we are playing, like, a Lucky Duck game and I don't have that in front of me where I can also read and do things because...
Like Chronicles of Crime or something.
I want to see it and I want to read along with everyone, okay? Like,
well, most of the time we just project those up on the TV now. Well, but like if you're doing like Chronicles of Crime and you're trying to look at the crime scene and someone's doing this, you just feel like you're left out waiting.
But the thing
is, or like an escape room game where like only one person can look at the puzzle at once. this everybody needs to kind of be paying attention.
Right. And having that interlude where every single person has a certain thing that they can say, somebody doesn't have to worry about being embarrassed necessarily to read. They have like a small thing, so they don't have to be like the main person reading and everything, but it still keeps it interactive. Like everything about this game is so completely interactive and unique. Like it pulls upon different mechanics from here and there with like, okay, you know, you have some combat mechanics and everything, but having the story interludes in between the combat and what's happening, and then being able to do the choose your own adventure choices like after combat and stuff like that, and then having the interludes whenever the characters are like going to sleep and stuff, or they go home and everything. Like there is not another game like this. Like that's just what, there's not another game like this that I can think of. In story, in the way that all the mechanics are put together, in the interactiveness and everything. Like this was such a fantastic game to play with the kid, with you. Like this is a game I can show everyone. I'm sorry, I know I'm like going on a huge rambling session, everyone, but I'm like so excited about this game. So Rachel says, we can agree with the young adult vibe. I enjoy that. It opens up to a larger age range of players. Right. Exactly. Yes.
I typically like my stories to be a little bit darker, or to have those tough choices. Like, do you take the land back to the farmer, or do you like take it away from the orphan, or do you let the orphan keep it? Like I kind of usually typically like those types of like gut-wrenching decisions, like the Crossroad games have those types of things. Mm-hmm. This one is definitely a lot lighter. I think I had the most fun playing this with the kids. Like I still enjoyed playing it with you.
Yeah.
But overall, I think I had a good time playing with our 11-year-old and kind of going through it and seeing the choices that way. I think it's definitely kind of that in that middle of the family range, because it definitely wasn't adult or anything like that.
So Luke says, I really like most things about this game except for the legacy game. Recharge packs are available on the Kickstarter, but the Renegade seemed non-committal about how long they would be offering those.
Most of it's stickers, though.
Yeah.
So I would imagine you could take most of it off. And if you really, really wanted to, if it's like 10 years down the road and you played it that many times, I feel like you could print it off and just like make it happen. You could figure out a way, because it seems like it's mostly stickers. I did like that you could upgrade your character. It's you know, you are putting actual like removable stickers on there, and
so Petter here says,
or just regular stickers.
That was lacking in the game. This has who was it saying that this was lacking in game? Oh, this was lacking in game. This has game with it. It seems, yes. The
Legacy of Dragonholt one?
Right. This one is like, I really like the pairing. I really like the strategic pairing of doing the little battles and having that enacted and having it be so realistic in what's happening and everything. Like you see what's happening, you see other bad guys coming in. Like it's so much fun to see that. And then having like the downtime in between where you're like trying to figure out puzzles and solving things and working together. And like everybody has their own choices. This is a game I want to play with all 4 players.
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense.
Because I want to hear all the story. I want to hear everything. I want to go down every avenue. I want to check every box. Like I want to see all the things.
Very expansive too. Like the books where we barely even touched most of the passages, the books were huge looking. I'm like, I can't even imagine. This is going to take a long time to go through.
It was exciting. It was so exciting. So Alan says, do you run the trolley over the dog or the TARDIS? That was Dr. Gloryhogg's version of tough decisions.
It was very tough. I don't. If you run over the dog and you get the TARDIS, you could go back in time and save the dog. I mean, it's very simple.
So overall here, bottom line, if you have a young one at home, this is going to be a win. They're going to be really excited to make their own decisions. They're going to be excited to play this game with you. It has unique and interesting backstories. They're going to be able to relate to the fun portions of this, like this gal right here, this person right here. They actually they talk to animals and stuff during it. Like, there's a cool character for everyone in this game.
And I think if you want to open your kid up to, like, diversity and stuff, too, because there's all kinds of different stuff as far as pronouns,
right,
same-sex, like, marriages.
Right.
I mean, all kinds of different things like that.
In a fun way, too, where, like, these are all really cool, relatable characters.
In, like, a casual way.
Right,
like, it's
exactly.
not beating you over the face with it.
Like, this is just normal stuff that's happening, like, in your adventure, you know? And if you want to open them up to other mechanics, this is a fantastic way to teach them about skirmish games and games where you're going to be playing like dudes on a map and stuff like that, because eventually it does translate into characters with line of sight. How far are they away from you? Range, magic, like it explodes in that portion of it.
Okay.
as it goes along, as you go through the scenarios. You know, they're going to get harder. It shows you, okay, the character's initiative goes this way in the game.
So really like a RPG campaign with a lot of story.
Right. And so you're going to be able to teach people so many different things with that. And not just kids. It's going to be people who are maybe coming into gaming and they're like,
it starts off pretty
nervous.
easy to get into it.
Yeah, they're nervous about getting into the in-depth gaming, but they want something to come to that's more friendly. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you're not having to deal with, all right, now we're going to try to do initiative and tracking and all this. Like, it's very easily out there. It's a line of people on a board. You go down the line. Like, it's very, what is it? Like, I don't know.
Linear?
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
I don't know
I'm thinking
either.
of the word. It's just very easy. It's very easy. You see it, and you're like, duh, that makes sense. Like, it makes complete sense.
So like easy to play, like
yeah,
easy to get
like
into?
you just see it and you're like, okay, yeah, obviously it's initiative. This person goes, then that person goes, and that person.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So Jacob says, my roommate backed this. Clink Legacy is my favorite Legacy game so far, and
Clink
I've
Legacy
played
is
it a
amazing.
bunch of times because this story, looking forward to another Legacy from Renegade with Nikki attached, is a plus. Aww.
I would 100% buy another copy of Clink Legacy to play through it again. I love that one.
This was just such a joy to play.
I want to play it like at 3 or 4 player though, because we played it at 2 and it was great. But I want to play it with more players.
And it was like surprising too. Like there were legit surprises in this game where stuff happened in the game, and I was like, what? What is happening right now? It was so like. Everyone, I loved this game. I backed this game. I already backed it, everyone. So.
Oh, fair enough.
There's that. I already backed it. Are you backing it? Let me know in the chat.
For me, I think the biggest thing is that the story didn't appeal to me as much as it did you, I think. Honestly, because I feel like if I'm playing like a story type game, I like that kind of political intrigue, that
right.
Game of Thrones style, like house versus house type of thing, or Red Rising, where it's like there's like a rebellion happening or something like that, where I didn't feel like that was happening in this yet, but this was also much friendlier. Like you weren't going in and there wasn't like people getting their throats cut and stuff. It was,
right.
You know, using slingshots.
Where you're not talking
sticks.
about, you know, going through a pile of dead bodies
yeah,
and
that's
stuff
true.
like that. And you're like, ooh.
Easier
like,
to play with family than some of the other ones we played.
Yes.
Some of the other games get kind of intense. You're like, oh, it's a skinwalker. What did they do? Oh, no, he's just wearing skins.
Yeah,
That's
that's not something we're introduced to Grandma, okay? So.
That's fair. That's fair. There's a lot of really cool things you could do with this, and it seems like the campaign's very interactive.
Very interactive.
I think you just need to know what story you're getting into, which is why we have a playthrough of it. You can take a look and see and get a really good idea of how the story plays out, because that, I think, is going to be the really determining factor. I think anybody could enjoy it. I think it's going to depend on who you're playing it with and if the story appeals to you or not.
Petter said, I'd get this if my 2.5-year-old was 10 years old.
That's
You know
fair.
what, Petter? I'm just going to tell you right now, this is going to be a fantastic way to teach your child to read because you read along.
I will say that if you are backing this, I would recommend getting it with a recharge pack, at least one, because then even if for some reason you didn't enjoy it, you could resell it with that recharge
there you
pack,
go.
and it's still sellable as a playable game. Where if you get just the
Absolutely.
regular version, you're not going to be able to resell that at all because you've used up all the stickers and everything.
Absolutely.
And if it is something you enjoy, you're probably going to play it more than once. Like our kid already wanted to play it solo.
They want to play solo, like without us.
Right.
Like, what the heck, kid? They're
the
like, we
time.
want to play solo. Get out, Mom and Dad. I was like, come on.
Yeah, it's tough.
What the heck?
It's tough. The kid is always like, whenever they start enjoying it, can you play this solo? It's like, all right.
All right. You don't
Jeez.
want us here. Thanks.
It's like you're going to take the one time this month you're going to play a game and you want to do it solo. Got it.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's see here. Beast is grabbing my interest right now, says Zirconia Moon. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one here in a few as well. I believe it's at the end. So Rachel says, I bet you could play it with a 6 or 8-year-old.
Yes. As
Really
long as they
depends
can
on
read.
the kid's attention span. Yep.
Or if they enjoy somebody reading to them and then you can make
Absolutely.
decisions.
Absolutely, because, I mean, really, whenever we were all reading through the book at the same time, the immediate thing that did come to my mind was, oh man, this is going to be fantastic for those people that are learning readers, are learning
Right.
to read,
Developing
because
readers.
you can read to them, and then they have a small part and everything, and you can help them with that, and it's not going to be a frustrating thing. And I know our kid has dyslexia, so that's better for them, because as we're reading through the book, they don't get as nervous because there's lots of, big portions, but then when it comes down to their portion,
Usually like a sentence or two.
Right, and then they feel like empowered and ingrained in the book and like, you know, excited to be doing that thing, but they don't have to worry about the big, vast portions of it, you know?
A half page of reading.
Right, exactly. So like, it was super exciting for them as well. What is Beast about the Beastie Boys? No, but that would be an interesting beast to add to Beast.
The Beastie Boys running around the forest.
The Beastie Boys beast.
Screaming, you've got to fight for your right to party and just throwing beers, like cheap beers at you. It'd be intense. They are older now. I don't know how well they would do in the woods by themselves.
So, Doctor, would you back it?
No, I think to play with you and the kid, yes. By myself, no.
By yourself,
that's
no?
what
Okay.
It's not my number one pick this week.
This is a game I would totally show to a ton of people that are going to love the interactiveness and storytelling.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that is that you can only go so far before you feel like you got to start putting stickers on stuff. So, like, that's the issue I had, is because the kid wanted to keep playing with the copy we have, which we have to probably send back out anyways. But I didn't want to put a bunch of stickers on it because I was like, oh, I don't want to ruin this yet, like, because the kid was already playing it on their own.
All right.
But like I said, I would definitely play it with you and the kid and everything. I just don't think it's...
I want to do like me, you, the kid, and Grandma. I think Grandma would really like this game too.
Fair.
Yeah. All right, next up we have The Stuff of Legend, the board game. This is by Third World Studios. This is for 3 to 6 players. It should last about 60 to 120 minutes.
Seems right.
With this one here, this is a social deduction game. A cooperative social deduction game where you are wrapped up into this comic world, so this graphic novel.
It's like the 1940s.
Right, where you are toys and your little boy gets taken by the boogeyman, and you are trying to go into this world and save them from the boogeyman.
The dog gets it. That's not
good. Your characters start out as toys, and then they go into this world, and they are upgraded into these fantasy figures.
Look,
as
the
you
Teddy
go
just
along.
watched. He just watched. Well, he'll get up later.
It's a co-op hidden trader game. I'd not call it a social deduction, really.
Yeah, okay. That's
fair.
I think that's a better description.
That's fair.
It's a cooperative. It's kind of like Dead of Winter, where it's cooperative, but there could be a trader amongst you.
Dead of Winter is a really good comparison with it because you are trying to manage and maintain things happening on the board, but you may or may not have a trader among you. It's not guaranteed that you'll have one among you, which is a mechanic I love so stinking much.
You do really like that mechanic.
I love it whenever I don't know for sure if there's a trader or not. I don't want to know for sure if there is one, because as I'm going around, like, you're already like, you can single people out more, you know, having that extra cast of doubt on, like, it could be just nobody is like so much fun to play with in this game. And all of the figures are super cute. The gameplay is light and easy to play, but
they're tough decisions to make.
Tough
There were
decisions.
times where we were like, we should run. And there were other times like, if we don't, there was times where I had to discard my hand to draw a new hand in the hopes that I would get a card that would let us run away or fight.
So Wooden Ducks,
that definitely happened.
Wooden Ducks are OSS, and hello, Marie. How are you doing?
It was very interesting because there's a lot of times where you go into an area and you might spawn troops, you might spawn nothing. But then you flip over a card and it's like, add 2 more events. And you're like, oh, okay, now this area is like
bad.
Right, now this area could be good or bad. Because you kind of want to go where the events are at, so you can, essentially what you're trying to do is get to the 4 little locations on the outside.
Yes.
And you have to you get to secretly look at it, but only one of you gets to look at it.
Only one of you.
And it can